Start back before the story, actually. Start with the part about how Amma was...
Oma saw the neighbor across the street being... there was a neighbor across the street, a young single man who had a girlfriend.
I don't know that part.
Was a Gentile girl.
No.
Yes, sure.
No, it's okay.
I haven't even started yet. He's already disagreeing with me. You don't know about that story?
I don't know that he had a girlfriend.
He didn't have a girlfriend. That's why we picked him up. The Gestapo
Who
picked
had a
him up.
girlfriend?
There was a single Jewish man living across the street from us who had a Gentile girlfriend. And
I never heard this part.
Neither have I.
Well, that's what
Yeah, that's
with
fine.
you. And listen to me.
Yeah.
I know about that story. And the Gestapo came and picked him up and put him in a prison because Hassenschande, which means that he what do you call it when you mingle the races?
Mixing of the races.
Yeah. So and by the week
This was
later,
in 38?
yeah, no, 38. That was 38. Yeah, 38. That was in 38. After
What
I had
month
left,
was it?
I don't know what month, but it was before, after I had left already. And after about a week
You heard
later,
about this from a letter?
Mommy, Daddy.
Okay.
And a week later, the parents got the ashes back from the young man. And supposedly he was shot by the Gestapo trying to flee. That's what they alleged. And one Shabbos, Mommy and Daddy went to shul. And like they like to do on Shabbos. And their Mommy walked down the aisle and they found a seat. It wasn't theirs because it was closer to the bima. And they sat down and when Mommy looked at her chair, it had the name plate there that said the young man's name that had been killed by the Nazis.
So you're telling me that the young man who was going with the shiksa had his name on the chair in the synagogue?
He owned that
Doesn't
seat.
that seem strange?
No, that was custom. They had a little box.
Like they have to in Bethel, they have it
Like
also.
No, I know, but you think of that usually as more observant families that have the...
Well, when you buy a seat in a synagogue, you have always a steady seat, and you have a little folding desk where you put your books in the talis or
Right,
whatever
right.
else, and you have the name in front of it. You know, so obviously, Ramira was
You don't remember his name, though.
No.
Blumenthal. Blumenthal.
Blumenthal.
I don't know his first name.
So anyway,
Blumenthal.
my mother sat down in that seat and she said to Daddy, she says, that's a sign from God, you have to get out of here. And the next day they packed up.
Yeah, but you missed the part about Appa not wanting to go.
Oh, you never wanted to go. But by that point already, when that young man had been killed, Opa had already sold his business.
Oh, he'd already sold it at that
Yeah,
point?
sold it.
So what were they doing in the meantime? Just twiddling their thumbs?
Because they were trying to get into Brazil. They were trying to emigrate to Brazil. And they were waiting for Uncle Max to send him an affidavit. Okay? And he was dragging on.
Max was in
dragging
Brazil
on.
already.
Huh?
Max was in Brazil?
Yes. He had left.
How did he get in there?
He left earlier. He left.
Yeah, but how did he get a visa?
At that time, he didn't need a visa.
Oh, he just went.
Okay.
Was in 1934 or 33.
So he was smart and he saw the writing on the
Well,
wall
he was
before
smart.
anybody?
He was the black sheep of the family. He had done something that wasn't kosher. There wasn't up and up or something. Or he had,
Well, you
in
want to
fact,
record that too?
I don't care. Something.
Well, when Uncle Max was in business, he had a cigarette store, cigarette tobacco. And but in his young years, one time, a so-called friend came up to him and said, listen, Max, I would like you to sign something here. You sign, I give you $100.
What did he sign?
He signed an I owe you ticket, check. And so as it turned, the check didn't go through. And the law in those days was that the person to whom the check was made out could collect the money from anyone who had signed on the back.
Ah.
And the other guy did not have the money, so they said, this Goldberger here, Max Goldberger, he is the rich,
So he got in trouble.
the son of the
Okay.
rich Goldberger
Okay.
who had the big apartment
Okay.
house, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And his father figured, having 13 children, he couldn't afford to
Time to get out.
they couldn't afford to pay for all the debts that their children made. And he said, I'm sorry, I won't pay.
Uh-huh.
And so as a consequence, he got jailed for 3 months.
Who? Max.
Max.
Did you know this story?
Yeah. And
I never heard this.
Big disgrace in Germany.
and as things are, in family circles, sometimes the wives of different members have a feud, and Tante Friedel in Pittsburgh, Ala Sholem, she decided one time to throw it up to the wife of Max. Said, "Oh,
Who was
husband-
Max's wife? Who was Max's wife?
Greta was her name.
Oh.
That your husband is a jailbird."
Oh, that wouldn't have
When
gone
she
over too
found-
well.
What?
I mean, that would not have been too popular.
No, and that in those days, especially, it was a big chunder, big,
Shame.
and so he decided, or she decided, they wouldn't have nothing to do with the mishpocha anymore, and they decided to emigrate, which saved their lives.
I remember going to the station to say goodbye to
Yes,
Uncle
and he
Max.
gave him a little present too.
So you were like 14 or 10 or something like that? 10.
Yeah.
It was a young child.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, I remember going to the airport, and he said,
Airport,
I
they
went
took a
to the-
train.
to the train, yes.
You remember that?
Yes, I remember very distinctly. You give him a little good luck piece.
Secret line or something like that.
No, you give him like a broken David or something like that.
I didn't have that.
Just the two of them? They didn't have kids?
They never had
I
children.
had to show. And,
So anyway, so after my mother saw that name, she decided she was going to leave the next day. They left the whole apartment, the whole furnished with everything, with the Persian rugs and the silver, the china. They had a large, very large apartment with a handsome that was like a smoke.
This was in Chemnitz. In
Chemnitz.
Chemnitz.
And it had a sunroom. We had the
Okay, so wait, the timing here is 38?
yeah.
Okay.
Just before 38.
Okay, and you guys had been in Switzerland, well, you'd been there for a long time already.
I got it there, 36, and Rita came a year later.
37, and they came in 38.
They came in 38, about 3 months before the Kristallnacht. That's how it happened.
So that's what,
Now, I remember Appa telling me the story about how they had to go to a different city.
well, they took a train ticket to a different city. They bought a couple of train tickets so that the people wouldn't,
And
couldn't
first
trace
of
it.
all, that was a round-trip ticket
Yeah,
in case they would be caught.
yeah.
Number two, they went first north to Leipzig, and from Leipzig they went over to Frankfurt, and from Frankfurt they went down to the Bodensee, and
They went to a cafe.
they were not, they could not register in a hotel because they would be not, the Gestapo would have been notified. And
So where did they stay?
They stayed with some Jewish friends for one night.
I didn't know that either. I thought they just came there and went to a cafe.
No. Well,
I didn't know. They never told me that.
Well, they wouldn't have had to stay overnight, but I guess they did.
well, when you come in the early day, and they had to sort of
They had a
check
they had,
out the neighborhood and see what to do. So
no,
there
they
was,
had a pre-arranged, as far as I knew. Mr. Dreyfus had arranged.
yeah, but they went a day early. And
Dreyfus was from your school?
Mr. Dreyfus was a good friend of Mommy and Daddy who had a dual citizenship. He was a Swiss citizen and he was a German citizen. And he's really the one that was instrumental in telling Mommy and Daddy to leave for Switzerland. Because they were waiting for Brazil, and it never materialized. He kept
They would have
telling,
still
"You
been
needed
waiting."
this paper, and you needed that paper, and you needed another paper. And Daddy LeSean went and got all the papers, and he didn't get any satisfaction. So then they went to a cafe that was on the lake, and they had music there, and they had dancing there. And so for one, and they had little boats there that you could take a little trip on the lake.
Like a rowboat or like a big
Like
boat?
a rowboat, a little rowboat. And so they got, they made up, I don't know whether Daddy made up, or Mr. Dreyfus made up for them to meet the boatsmen to take them over. Then I don't know. Do you know that?
well, the Dreyfus arranged it because he could go to Switzerland and find the people, but Daddy could not do that.
I think it was a German man that rowed him over there. I'm not sure. Because he went back with the boat.
Yeah, that probably is true.
So
But there was
anyway,
a guy that it was, I think he might have been Swiss.
He might
And
have
because afterwards, there was just a regular rowboat, and they,
So they took a little ride, when the music started up and the band was playing, around, I guess, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, they got into the boat. And he
Now, how
wanted to
much
cross-
luggage are
Nothing.
with them? Nothing?
What?
No luggage? Nothing?
No, the
just
luggage is shipped, and then the money they gave to somebody
to take
in a briefcase, and
I
he
guess
said
the
he would.
rifles maybe somebody.
No, that's right. And then he would exchange it for them on the 50-50 level. In other words, he would give them the same amount that he gave them, then he gave them in German marks. He would give them half of it in Swiss francs.
Half of it.
Yes,
So Appa lost half of his money?
50%.
So anyway,
Otherwise, he would have had nothing.
So now, was this the same one who was the principal at your school? No.
no, that, Daddy had money in the school too. At the school.
Well, what happened is then
He sent, Daddy always sent the maximum allowable by German law for his schooling and then for my schooling. And the principal was honest enough to put the money in the bank or keep it or whatever he did with it. And he had given him the coat. Was that later that he gave him that big coat? With the
yeah,
fur?
it was a beaver coat.
So anyway, and then they took a boat ride with that boatsman that they had arranged to meet, and he took him across the lake. And in the middle of the lake, there was a little bell rang, and Mommy said to Daddy, "Did you hear that? Erich, did you hear that?" And my father said, "Oh, you just imagining things." So they continued on. The boatsman took him across to the Swiss border, and he helped them onto the shore. He left them off, gave them a push-up side there, and then he turned around and he left. And then the Swiss police met them there, and they
He
said
was
to them,
waiting for them.
they were waiting for them. And they said, "Did you have a nice ride?"
What that?
They said, "Did you have a nice ride? Did you have a nice trip?" So then they put him in prison, Swiss prison.
Both Appa and Amma?
Put him in
Locked
prison.
them up in the room.
Well,
And they
first
would
did-
have deported them,
they
right?
were absolutely was
There
going
was
to
a,
send them back. They
there
were
was
going
a
to
couple
send
next door that they were sent back.
Yeah, at first I think they put him in two different cells, and Mommy carried on. They put him in one cell.
That could be, I don't know what that
Okay, and then they were going to send him
Now,
back.
were you aware of this plan?
is.
No.
No, not at
We
that
didn't
time.
know a thing about it. They wouldn't have burdened us. They were afraid we might say something or might slip something and they might get wind of it. They wouldn't have done that.
So this was a total surprise.
Absolutely.
So one day, the head of my school, the director, came up to me. I got a call from your parents. They're in Kreuzlingen. I was on the Swiss side of the Bodensee, and they're incarcerated there. And we have to go over there to take them.
Did you go with him?
Yeah, I went
Or
with
you
them.
with him?
I went with parents. We drove all the way through the night. And so if
You
look
went
on
with
the
who?
map- If you look on the map, Kreuzlingen is pretty much
Cross.
the other corner of Switzerland. You know, that's near the Liechtenstein. You know,
Okay.
Liechtenstein's
Okay.
there.
So he went there and he vouched for Mommy and Daddy that they would not be a burden to the Swiss authorities.
But was that sufficient?
Yes,
Yeah,
he
well,
was a
he
Swiss citizen.
had to call up first. The policeman had to call his superior in Bern and said, "I have a couple here. They said their children are here in school. He verified it, and are we allowed to make an exception this time? Since I'm both children here." So the superior in Bern said, "All right, in that case you can make an exception." Because they realized if they would have sent them back, we would have been all back in orphans for practice purpose, because the Nazis
But they would have
didn't
sent
look,
us back too, probably.
the Nazis didn't look too kindly on people from Jews coming.
Was there a risk that you would have been sent back?
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure, if the teacher doesn't get the money anymore, what's to do?
Well, you weren't still finished school yet.
No, but who cares?
But
I mean,
you have to
they-
pay.
No. I'm saying that how were they supposed to continue paying for the rest of your education if they were now in Switzerland?
well, they took us out of school.
Daddy
out of
had some
boarding
money.
school.
He
Yeah,
got
they
some
did
money
have some
with
money, and Hugo worked at the boarding school. He got a job as he washed dishes.
Yes.
So you were pulled out of school as soon as your parents came?
Well, he did hard work. He did try to
Yes. And
How much
then
more?
they-
How many more years were you supposed to stay before you would have graduated?
They had a funny system over there. It was not like
But it sounds like it was
like
cut
like
short.
a regular school, you know. It was like
boarding school.
a boarding school, and they bent laws. I mean, they had first of all, I don't think that the director of the school had a diploma to begin with.
I never heard that
He
one.
he was working in Milan in a bank, so he knew something about bookkeeping, and of course he knew French.
He hired instructors.
And he hired instructors. He was like a business manager.
So you didn't have a high opinion of the quality of the school?
Yeah, it was a good
It
school.
was all right.
It was a good school. So, but you know, before that we had been in another school. We had been near Geneva. This was in Saint Croix. And I don't know when we moved over to the other school.
You were both in another school? I thought you had been in one, and then when you switched to the second one, you went after.
No, I went before. First was in a school near Geneva.
In Vevey, near the Vevey.
Near
It was the little town hall.
Foncia.
L'École d'Humanité. And then Hugo was transferred to that school, which was called La Brise. La Brise?
Jolly Brise.
Jolly Brise. And then I was living with a Swiss family, and I went up to school because it was an all-boys boarding school. So I took classes there. And then when Mommy and Daddy came, they took an apartment, and I was pulled out, and I was sent to public school in West.
You moved to Lausanne.
No, that was before we were still in Saint Croix. And I went to school in Saint Croix for at least a year, more than a year.
Say that again?
I went to school, public school, for at least a year
Where?
in Saint Croix.
Oh, before you moved to Lausanne.
Before we moved. And Mommy couldn't stand it was very high up in the mountains, and she couldn't take the climate too much. There was a lot of fog. So she applied, got a doctor's certificate that she had to move into a lower altitude. And we wanted to move to Lausanne, and we did move to Lausanne, but the Swiss authorities wouldn't leave us in Lausanne. We had to move out of Lausanne again to
They didn't want too many refugees in Lausanne.
Right, so they
So
put
we
us
made it
So how common was this situation in Switzerland?
in
I mean, did you know other families that had similar circumstances?
The police was already influenced by the news. German, he was all German. You know, they have a very, very delicate position. 6 days of the week they were working for the Germans, and on the 7th day they were praying for the victory of the Allies, which made it a little bit difficult. And as a matter of fact, we found out later that there were even trains that went through Switzerland at night time from Italy to Germany. When the Nazis retreated from Italy at the end of the war,
They went through
they
Switzerland?
allowed them to evacuate their troops going through Switzerland at night,
I know.
with all the shades drawn and all that. And that gives you an idea.
So during the war, when you were in Switzerland, was there a constant state of tension, or did you feel safe, or what was it like?
I felt very safe in Switzerland.
I
The
was
family
safe,
where
but
I lived was very nice to me. They treated me very well. I can't say, but of course he got paid. You know, they didn't do it for nothing. Mommy and Daddy paid him nicely to keep me there.
yeah, but she
Why
do
didn't you
much-
stay with
she
them?
Didn't do much kitchen work either.
I didn't have to do any kitchen work. They paid for me. It was just
Why
like
didn't you
that.
stay with your parents then?
They were not there yet.
Oh, yeah, they were there.
They didn't come too much later.
I'm confused. In Lausanne?
No, it's in Saint Croix. I'm still in Saint
Oh,
Croix
okay.
now. In Saint Croix, okay? In Saint Croix, I was at least maybe, well, from 97 to 98, I lived in
37, 38.
37, wait a minute. Well, I was 1 year in the school in l'École d'Humanité. I don't know how long I was living in Saint Croix.
So we moved away from there to Lausanne, to Renault.
So I know, but that much later, that was much later.
Well,
Because then
I don't know exactly. Yeah, we were out there in Saint Croix for about a year and a half, I would say.
At least.
Till
At least.
1942.
At least 1 year.
Till
I know 2 years. I went
41.
I was in elementary school 1 year, and then I graduated to high school in Switzerland. So it must have been at least 2 years. And I think might have been in high school for 2 years in Switzerland, in San Juan. And then we went to Lausanne, Renault, and then we couldn't stay in Lausanne, so we met, like Pikes Road to Baltimore, was Renault. I had to take the train every day to school.
So that's why your schooling was so chopped up.
Right. So then I went to school, and my mother was able to get me into École Supérieure de Commerce. She went to see the principal, and he gave me a scholarship for the school. So I graduated from L'École.
So now what were Panama doing this whole time?
They couldn't do anything.
They were not allowed to work.
So what were they doing with themselves?
Well, they were nothing. They were walking, and they took care of themselves.
Were they trying to get out of Switzerland?
No, well, they were trying, yes.
They got a very minor support from the Hayas, from the Jewish community. And
Now I can't see either one of your eyes. I was going to ask you both to take your sunglasses off.
but
Yeah, it's better if now I can see your eyes at
But
least.
I can't, the sun is in
the
my
sun
eyes.
is mine.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, you want to look at my eyes now, and that's it. Now you see them.
Okay.
Oh, you see my eyes too.
Okay.
So anyway, and then I graduated from school in Hugo. The authority took him to work in a work camp. He was because he was older than I, and they took him to.
Now we're talking like 40, 41?
1940, and in December 40, I was drafted into the labor camp. And sent
Now was this voluntary, involuntary?
Involuntary. It was a labor camp. What happened was that since the refugees were not allowed to work, idleness is the devil's playground, and someone got involved with ladies that needed some loving, and others had other things going on. So or maybe a certain amount of pressure from the Nazis as well.
Ladies
But they
who
wanted to
needed
make sure
someone.
they wanted to make sure that in case the Nazis marched in, that they could hand them over on a silver platter. Not the exact reason. In any case, they
How come that wasn't the case for you?
Well, it did draft me also. I had a year and a half before I graduated École Supérieure de Commerce. I had to go to the Tessin, which is the Italian part of Switzerland, and work for a Jewish family.
That was also involuntary?
That was also involuntary, unless mommy and daddy requested it. I don't know.
yeah, I think they might have.
I don't know. Did they or didn't they? They did not. You sure about that?
Post.
I don't know. Anyway, so I had to interrupt my schooling in the middle. And,
Again?
Yeah, and go and I wanted, and I had to work. Nice Jewish family. They had 3 kids, and I was taking care of the youngest, who was maybe 4 years old, something like that.
And you were doing what in this labor camp thing?
Well, I originally in Locarno, I was working in the fields, removing stones from fields, planting corn, planting.
But you weren't by yourself, you were in a group.
In a group, yeah. And, I had to live with 40 other people in the.
Okay, so I have no idea what this, describe what this was like. Describe the group.
Well, if you consider yourself a barracks made for 40 people, and you had one barracks there, it was a dining room, and one barracks was a bathroom, and then one barracks was where the people slept. One was the administration and the shower and so forth. But in any case,
But how old were the other people? Were they all
any
your age?
any age group, as long as they were physically able, they were drafted.
And they were men and women?
No, just men in this
just
camp.
men. They didn't have any women there.
They didn't have a labor camp for women, I don't think. But they made me.
Yes, they did.
They did? Oh. But I
In
had to
Switzerland?
work for a Jewish family.
We're talking about labor camps in Switzerland for women.
I didn't
Yes.
know. I didn't know of any.
There was one not far from the border in Brissago. Brissago is when you go from Locarno on the map to Ascona, and then you go down alongside the lake, like going to place called any case.
So how were you aware of them? This doesn't sound like it was nearby.
It was.
How
It
did
was
you know
pretty
about
far
that
away.
other labor camp?
Because it was, when I was in Locarno, first I was drafted near Locarno. It was about an hour by foot. And they kept us right next to the railroad track. And when every time the train gone by, the whole barrack shook. And one time we were supposed to only to stay within the village that was there. And I happened to want to go to Locarno, to the city. And as it turned out, I ran into the camp commander. So he nailed me, of course. He gave me, I think, a month or 2 months of staying in the barracks without any leave at all. And that was it. And,
So what was the labor like? I mean, was it
labor
like hard physical labor?
Make labor. In other words, make labor.
Make work.
Restoration of the road. They had, for example, certain plants they had to separate, like flax. You know, flax is
Yeah, flax.
flax. Between male and female plants, you know, they had to separate.
But it doesn't
And,
sound like it was physically
it
hard
was,
labor.
No, some of them they had the carrette. That was the big things, you know, built like this that you have to tilt over
I don't know
on
what that
the
is.
track. You know what I'm talking about?
What is that, Mom?
What is it?
It's a carrette. It's a wagon. You know, built like this.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about. It sorts the wheat from the chaff type thing?
No.
No.
Like
It's a big thing.
wheelbarrow, like a
No,
wheelbarrow.
it's bigger, much bigger than a wheelbarrow. It runs on tracks and on rails,
Yeah.
and
It's for agriculture?
yeah, to remove stones and then things like that. It improves the property.
Okay.
What happened is they put us in Locarno. In Locarno, they put us at a place where the Maggia comes into the Maggia River, comes into the Lago Maggiore. And every so often it was flooded. So we had to improve the property of the land. Removing stones, planting corn, and so forth.
So this lasted for like 6 months?
Oh, he was there.
Yeah, through the winter months. Was very.
And then he took an apprenticeship as a baker.
Well, after later on, there was a law passed by the government.
Now we're talking 41 or what, 42? 43?
42. 44, yeah,
Well, how long were you in Switzerland? Until when?
Since 46.
And
November 46.
And they passed a law. that-
Meanwhile, Up are not working the whole time.
No, wait a minute. Then Mommy and Daddy were able to get me back to school. So I lost about at least a year.
And you came back from that family.
When that family did, yeah. I thought I would be able to go to night school there or that, but they wouldn't give me the time off to go. And I thought that maybe I'd be able to learn Italian, but I couldn't get a chance to, other than what I picked up. And then I got back into school. I was able to catch up with my grade, and I graduated with the rest of the kids in my class. I took all the finals, all the exams that everybody else had to take.
This was in
illegal.
École Supérieure de Commerce? This was in École Supérieure de Commerce?
It was 1 week of written exams and 1 week of oral exams. They were very tough, they were not easy. And after that, I got a job with the Jewish community to work in the office. And then after that,
This was in Lausanne or
in
where?
Lausanne. And I got very little money. I don't know, maybe $20.
But how come you could work and your parents couldn't?
Because I wasn't getting paid by the Jewish community. It was, they paid like petty cash. They paid different.
Expenses,
So
basically.
Daddy was able, after I got the job there, Daddy was able to work.
Hey,
That's
there
right.
it goes. Ciao.
Daddy was able to work for the Jewish community also. But he got very little money. But it was good for him to get out of the house and be able to work for him.
And Amma the whole time must have been going nuts.
No, she liked it though. She didn't go nuts. No, she kept the house and.
I know, but you weren't there. It was just her
Well, I
and...
came home to we slept
Oh, you
there.
did?
Yeah, I commuted every day back
Okay.
and forth. And Daddy did too.
And you were there too?
No, he
I
was,
got to pass once a month from wherever I was in the camp and come back to my home base, like for a weekend or so. And then I had to go back to the camp. And
So did you look at this as like enforced slavery, or how did you feel about it? I mean, what was it
We
like?
saw what was going on in Germany.
You figured you were
and
lucky by
grateful.
comparison?
yeah,
I mean, we heard what was going on with the gas ovens and everything.
By what
Then-
time? By 41?
Oh, quite early on.
Before?
Quite early on. We got mail from coded mail from Poland. My mother got that. Her sister was being shipped. Some we go to summer camp, whatever, in that some they had to put it coded. Well, we knew what it meant. Mommy knew what it meant. I wouldn't have known, but my mother knew what it meant.
Were they trying to hide it from you, or were they telling you what was
They
going
told
on?
us. They told us.
So it was obvious. It wasn't like it was.
They knew what was going on. And then also some refugees kids we had sent to Switzerland that they made a deal. The parents or whoever relatives paid X amount of money to the German government, and they were allowed to leave. I remember
could
that.
be.
Yes.
Oh, well, the Nazis were very happy to be bought off in some
Oh,
cases.
Yeah. They would have brought out everybody. They went out to kill people. If they had been able, if any country in the world would have opened their doors and taken all that, they would have gotten out. They were not at the beginning. That was not that only, developed later on that they went to the death chambers. Before that, if any country would have accepted them,
Sure.
they would have just like
Democracy is rather responsible for the fact that the Nazis feel, well, nobody wants them Jews and we don't want them either.
that's right.
It's disposable.
Yes.
That was the basic
That's
idea.
right, exactly. Because you remember the St. Louis that went to Cyprus and Cuba, where did they go? Cuba, and they had authorized visas. I mean, they had all straightened out,
And Batista.
and he wouldn't let
Turned them back.
And he wouldn't let them in, and the ship went from port to port, came to this country, the United States, and they would not let anybody into the country. They had they sent patrol boats out to the ship, make sure that nobody got off the ship.
Really?
Oh yes, they did. That's right.
All right, so continue the story and tell how they finally got the visas for the United States, because that's the rest of the story.
Well, 1946, my mother, somebody had told my mother that she had a relative in this country that she had never met. His name was Kempner. What was his first name?
Somebody told Amma?
So, mommy's had a cousin, Hershkowitz, who told mother that she had a relative in this country by the name of Kempner. I don't remember his first name. Living in Texas. What was his first name?
I-H.
He was very wealthy, but he was the president of the Bank of Texas.
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 Galveston.
Galveston. And he even signed the dollar bills. He had his name on the currency. And he.
So wait. So you're saying that if we dug back into 1930, 40 money, we would be able to find currency with
Yes,
his
you might.
name on it?
Yes, you might. In Texas. Yes, you
Well,
might.
wait, no, not in Texas. It's federal. It's federal currency.
No, Texas had the right in those days to print their own money.
Okay.
So,
Right, cool.
Okay. I didn't know that.
So then he sent us an affidavit.
But was he really related?
Yes, but I never found out how. Not closely related. He must have been maybe second cousin or third cousin, but he was kind enough to give us an affidavit for the whole family.
After the killer got after him, the Jewish community pressured him to.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because he wrote in a letter that he gave 150 people supposedly
Yes.
affidavit.
Yes.
So you were 4 of 150 people
Right,
who
that's
he
what he said, yeah.
who he
We don't know.
sponsored.
Yes.
We never heard from anybody else. So, I mean, that's what people say. I don't know about that.
So he wasn't really anyone that you had a relationship with.
No.
Supposedly we were. Mommy said we were related, but I don't know how. Could have been a third cousin or a fourth cousin. Who knows?
But
in any case, he wasn't anxious to see us.
Well, wait a minute. It didn't get there yet.
Okay, so tell
So
the rest.
anyway, we got the visa and we sailed from Genoa, Italy, on an Italian liberty ship, the 4 of us,
Now wait a minute. How did you get to Italy?
by train. The German.
This was after the war was already
was
a
already
year.
over in Germany, in Germany.
Almost a year it had been over?
No, it was still going on in the Pacific. It was still going on.
Yeah.
1946. I don't think that the atomic bomb had been dropped in. I don't remember when it was dropped.
Joe, what year did the
Atomic bomb in Japan.
bomb in the Pacific? 45, wasn't it? 45.
So it must have been.
So it was after already.
So we got a Liberty ship, the four of us, and we sent from Genoa. And we were supposed to go to Galveston, Texas.
No, New York first.
No, we were not supposed to go to New York. And then the captain got.
Well, what is it? Which one? New York or Galveston?
Difference.
Well,
The captain got
it would
orders
have been a different.
in mid-voyage not to go to Galveston, to go to Baltimore.
Because.
He got the orders to go to
Well, now I
Baltimore.
had heard this story already once before, and it was slightly different.
No,
The story I had heard was there was bad weather.
No.
No.
That's
they
not
had
true?
to- they were supposed to pick up a Liberty ship here.
I thought you were on a Liberty ship.
We were on a Liberty ship, yes.
Yeah, but they had to pick up. They had sailors on the below deck that were on the ship for the purpose of bringing another ship back. From
I
America.
don't understand.
I don't know whether that was the way, or they were bringing those soldiers back to this country or not.
One of the soldiers that were Italians that were supposed to bring back the ship from America.
It was a very nice voyage, about 2 weeks.
This is when you got sick of
November
pasta,
12th
though.
to November 22nd.
November?
12th, 11.
This was when you got sick of pasta?
Yeah, I got sick of pasta. We got pasta for lunch and for dinner for lunch and for dinner for lunch.
No radio, no library.
But it was okay. I mean,
Right,
at least
okay.
we were excited
Well,
to come
yeah,
to
what
this
was that? I was going to say, what was was it a
excited.
sense of anticipation or were you dreading it?
Well, we were excited to come to this country, but we thought we were going to Houston, to Galveston. Galveston.
That's what you expected?
Yeah.
How was your English?
Oh, it was good.
It was the King's English.
Well, I mean, I was doing some translation work already.
Okay. So that wasn't a problem.
No, it's no problem. The only thing is, when you're not fluent in a language, and as far as you can talk it, but in
Colloquialisms and
conversation was limited.
So anyway, so then we came into Port of Baltimore. We didn't know a soul, not one single
But
soul.
wait, we still don't know why it ended up in Baltimore.
Because
Yeah,
he
because
got
the
ordered
captain
by,
got,
by, by
the
radio.
captain got the
For what
orders.
reason, though, we don't know.
We don't know. The captain didn't tell us.
Well, the captains, you had the ships either to pick up ships here or for
Did you-
repair
did
of
you
a
hear
ship,
that?
one or the other.
We didn't hear that.
That's what I heard.
No, I didn't hear. I only heard that the captain got orders to go into Baltimore, Port of Baltimore. And that's where we went. So then we didn't know anybody in Baltimore, and somebody from the highest came to meet the ship.
Now, Kempner's out of the picture already.
Well, wait a minute. We came to Baltimore, and Daddy was shown, sent a wire to Mr. Kempner in Galveston. We landed
No.
in Baltimore. Yes, I know about that.
Well, wait, let me hear what you thought happened.
And we
No,
wired back.
when we arrived here, there was a letter and a telegram waiting for us that we should send.
This job, but that's
here.
what after that.
The economic situation was better up north. You should stay up north.
That's not what I heard. I heard that Daddy wired him, and then he wired back and said, "You landed in Baltimore. You might as well stay."
Well,
Okay, well, that's not that different a story. In either case, he didn't really want you.
no.
He was
You
anxious.
never met
I mean, he was happy to have sponsored you, but it wasn't like he was dying to see
He
you.
felt he had done his deed.
doing his duty.
He felt he had done his
Well, you weren't
So,
disappointed
among
because
other-
you didn't know him anyway, right?
right.
No.
What were you expecting more from him? Nothing.
Well, among the 150 people supposedly that he sponsored, there were some that were not grateful and figured that he was a very rich man, a millionaire for that matter, that could lay in his pocket and he would support him. And he got a little bit beefed off about it.
Well, you assume that you never heard that. Which would you know?
That hill.
From Mommy and Daddy? Well, he never wrote that, so how would they know? They assumed that.
And there was never any relationship after that.
Well, when I got married, I sent him an invitation with an RSVP card, and he sent me back the same invitation that he wasn't coming. He didn't send me any good wishes. He didn't send me anything, not a $10 bill, not a $1 bill.
Not even one that he had signed.
not even one of their sons. So then
So you never met him?
never met him. Daddy wrote to him and he never responded or anything. So then we went in a strange country.
Okay, so now Appa is already 50-some years old when he gets here?
Oh, yeah.
53 years.
63, Daddy?
53.
He was born in 93,
1893.
right? And came here in
And Amma was
46.
97?
No, Mommy was younger than
Yeah, 1897.
She was,
Two years younger.
Oh, 1895? Okay, so if he got here in 46, he was 53, like you said, right?
And their Mommy was 51.
And
So he had to start over then, because the money was gone by this point, right?
Well, they had a little bit of money left.
Very little.
When they came into Switzerland, Daddy had some money in Switzerland that Mr. Dreyfus had kept for him, and that the Swiss authorities confiscated, and they kept it for when we would leave, and that's how we paid for the train. And
To get to the ship.
boat, I suppose, to get to the
General.
then my father had to pay under the table just to get on the boat to America because it was filled, and I gave him 500 Swiss franc or whatever it was. They gave me a cabin. They made room in a fire cabin on top of the top deck.
So basically, there wasn't, I mean, it was a start over.
Right, absolutely. Daddy went from business to business trying to get a job, and he was not able to get a job.
Too much experience in English and all
And you
those kind of
spoke with an
excuses,
accent.
you know. So he was very disappointed.
Now, I remember the stories I heard was first there was a laundry that he worked at.
Right.
Do you remember?
laundry.
Fish laundry in Baltimore?
Right.
As I remember seeing the fish laundry trucks. I mean, I don't know if it's still around, is it? But I mean, that was a big company here.
Still
For a
have
while.
the fish laundry, but it's different things.
And then it was the typesetting.
Printing job. He worked for the Baltimore Correspondent, which had German paper, put out a German paper.
When I was up in Toronto last time, I saw at one of the newspaper companies they had the typesetting machine in the lobby because that was actually a TV station.
Yeah.
And so I saw the kind of equipment that he had to set the type on. It was
Called it a pig. They had this
big, heavy
pig.
stuff.
Heavy stuff. Heavy
It
stuff.
was invented by a fellow from Baltimore.
Now, was this the Aufbau that he worked on?
Mergenthal.
Was this the Aufbau?
No, it was
No.
the Baltimore Correspondent
He was setting type in English?
in German. Yeah.
German.
Baltimore
German paper.
Correspondent put out a German paper,
Okay.
and Daddy printed it up.
You had to make 8 columns in one day. That's a lot of printing with one little finger.
He was the only two-finger typesetter in the printing union, and they wouldn't let Daddy in for a long time before he was able to join the union. And then he was doing pretty well once he got into the union. He did pretty well. And he was sitting right next to the window in the sun, no air conditioning, and it was a sweatshop. And I got a job with Herschel Cohen in the filing department, which I hated. If you filed 8 hours a day after having graduated from École Supérieure de Commerce, it's pretty tough.
And how about Herschel Cohen?
Yeah, Herschel Cohen, yeah.
He was
And Hugo-
involved with furs.
What?
His furs, right?
I went to Herschel Cohen in correspondence, and then I got promoted to the correspondence department afterwards. At first, I went to the fur department and had to type up the fur labels. And then that was on Cathedral Street. And then I was able to get into the correspondence department and type English letters, you know. But my grammar was probably better than the other girls.